Welcome or welcome back to Pewdiepie. I'm Zui and I hope you enjoyed today's video. But before we get right into it, I'm obligated to remind you to click either the like or dislike button, commenting something down below, and of course sharing the video so more people can see and enjoy it. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Heavy footsteps were approaching the cabin. Bob couldn't wait to get in there. He had been busy all day, and the night was still young. Spittle was running down his grinning face at the anticipation of the upcoming feast. As he dragged the carcass behind himself, the thought of the raw meat, of its taste, of the feeling of its bone crushing beneath his teeth. The devil would dine fine tonight. Slowly he ascended the wooden steps of the cabin's porch. A table with 2 chairs on his left, on the other, a stack of firewood. He stared at the door, deciding no, there was a better way to enter. So he turned around and walked back down the stairs, throwing the body on his shoulder to not get it too damaged. He walked around the cabin, finding the back door. Chuckling to himself, the devil twisted the knob. Locked. He sighed. A window it was then. Carefully the killer let go of his meat before feverishly running a lap around the house. Out of all the windows the building had, one was open. The ground floor living room window. His luck couldn't have been better. Bob's heart beat faster. He could already taste it. First he threw the bloody meat through it, before awkwardly climbing after. Inside he grabbed the legs of his meat and dragged them over into the dark kitchen, smearing blood all over the floor. And with a mighty grunt he slammed the carcass on the counter. However, as he was sharpening his knife to cut into his meat, the light switch was suddenly turned on. And there, standing in the doorframe, wearing only an open bathrobe, stood you, with an angry scowl. Bob blinked and then blushed in embarrassment. "You know we have a door, mister. In fact, I know you have a key." Bob awkwardly scratched over his chin. Well, you know. And look at the floor! You pointed at the bloody trail. But... No buts. Clean that up. Now. Bob frowned, and you sighed. Don't frown at me. He made big puppy eyes that even after all this time still looked quite crazy. I am not helping you. But I brought food. He pointed at the deer he had hunted earlier this day. Yes, and we will eat it after you prepared it properly. I don't want to get any worms or something. The former devil butcher grinned. I know. Bob was on the run, and by sheer accident, you were too. It all happened 2 years ago. You were a simple video game developer specializing in lewd pixel RPGs. Your most famous game was called The Slums of Rome, in which a Roman noble was living out her darkest desires with the lowest bottom feeders of the fallen empire. Of course, everyone who played it for the raunchy scenes. No one understand the deep subtext of the story you wrote. There was meaning behind every line you had written. You wanted someone to call you out, call you a conspiracy theorist or a right-wing troll, but maybe your writing was a little too subtle. Not that you actually believed this stuff, you just wanted people to react. Alas, it made you money. That day you had been busy with paperwork, so after a nice shower you had almost immediately fallen asleep in your office chair while watching pirated movies. Bob, that night, had entered through your back door. He knew from stalking you in these past couple of days that the spare key was hidden under a fake rock in your backyard. You were going to be his first kill of Halloween. But when he found you asleep, he sighed. It wasn't fun when they were asleep. So he just searched your house for some sweets. Finding a large bag of sugar-powdered mint chocolates, he sat down on your sofa and began eating them. And that's when the noises woke you up. As he was focused on chewing, you peeked over your office chair. Thank God for once it didn't creak under your movements. He just stared at the wall while eating. Normally, people in your situation would panic, but honestly, something similar to this have happened before. Your dad was a psychologist working at a psych ward. A few times patients had escaped and had tracked him down, or more, his home. For sheer luck, you never were hurt by them. But it taught you a few things. And then you noticed his knife. You rolled your eyes. Fine. This killer had chosen the wrong house. So you got up, as quiet as possible. But it was still too loud, and he looked at you. With your hands pressing against your hip, like an angry mother, you snarled at him. "Those are for the trick-or-treaters, mister." Bob immediately stopped chewing. You took a step forward, grabbing his right ear as harshly as you could. "Oh, oh, oh, oh," he complained, as you dragged him into the kitchen. There you pointed at a cupboard. "Go on, take out a bowl. Now." Yes, miss," he said. Bob placed the dish on the table. You then filled it with the sweets. "There we go. Good boy." The killer bit his lower lip. He was getting agitated. "You may take one." "You know I could just kill you and..." You smacked him square across the face. For a moment, he saw stars. "How dare you speak to me like that, mister?" "Wait, what?" You grabbed him by the collar, strutting over to a nearby chair before laying his massive frame on your lap. With your right hand, you promptly pulled down his pants. "Wait, are you..." With horror, he noticed what you were holding. Your house slippers. Smack, smack, smack. Bob was bewildered. Never in his life had someone treated him like this. "I want you to know this hurts me more than it does you." He sniffed. "I doubt that, miss." "Now." You let go of him, and he stood next to you. You crossed your arms, biting your lower lip. Your heart, honestly, was pounding. Your rational brain was telling you how crazy this situation was, but it worked on the crazies when you were a teen, and it very well worked right now. "Go upstairs and wash that red stuff out of your face. Got it?" Yes, miss." "Second door on the right." "Got it." As Bob walked upstairs, he felt defeated. His appetite gone. The voices in his head silent. They were taken aback just like himself. With shaking hands, he washed off the red paint after taking off his devil mask. In the meantime, you just waited downstairs in your living room. You had something prepared for him. Something to keep him busy with. Bob soon descended the stairs, his grin replaced with a frown, as he joined you in the living room. You just pointed at the sofa. "Sit." He growled but followed your order. "Good boy. Now," you slammed a tin can on the table you had been hiding behind your back. "Knit." "Knit what?" "A nice beanie." His twitching hands hovered over the can. I don't know how.
You sighed. Thanks, Grandma, for teaching me this, you thought. With a loud scoff, you sat down next to the killer. Fine. Then I'll show you. 2 months after that, in January, the two of you got engaged. There was a tiny chapel in some ass-backwards town in Ohio that was fine with marrying an escaped serial cannibal and his would-be victim. Ever since then, you moved into the wilderness of Canada, of all places. In a cottage for the two of you. As it turns out, Bob was a great homemaker. The tight leash you had around him and his background as a burger chef made for a great husband. Minus the bloodlust, of course. His lovemaking also was quite aggressive, and your entire body was covered in small scars and bite marks. Bob looked down at the bloody trail he left behind.
Fine,
he said, defeated. You brought a mop of hot water downstairs, put a few squeezes of the good cleaner into it, and together the two of you began cleaning up his mess. You said 20 minutes later as you were refilling the bucket, "I'm very proud of you for hunting that deer. It is a good job." Bob grinned from ear to ear, his left eye twitched dangerously.
"I got it with my knife," he said.
"Yes," you said as you looked at the mess he left behind. "I figured." Once everything was cleaned up, you patted your murderous husband on the back. "Good job."
"Thank you."
You leaned up and gently kissed his cheek, which made him blush. "Now get the deer into the basement." The basement was a cold storage room with hooks, where Bob hung up his hunted animals for processing. He joined you a few minutes later on the couch. You had prepared a bowl of candy corns, which he happily devoured. His chewing was loud and a bit annoying, but you remained silent. Thanks to his bloodlust, he often was out of the home for days. Luckily, you lived so far out in the woods, he only was a danger to animals. You had thought of introducing something small like a bunny or chicken to your family, but no, he was too unpredictable for that. And of course, you had thought of getting the cops involved, but that would put you back on his shit list. And honestly, a man of his size and strength would surely track you down. Not even the angry mom shtick would work then. He set the bowl down after it was empty. Finally, the devil butcher noticed your open bathrobe. He chuckled, and you grinned. "Aw, looks like someone is getting excited." You climbed on top of his lap, allowing him to touch you. His mouth almost immediately making contact with your lips. Bob sure knew what he wanted all the time, but you were willing to give it to him. You wrapped your arms around his head gently, to push him further into you. He smelled like the forest, a little bit of sweat, and faintly of blood. It wasn't a particularly arousing smell, but his powerful tongue, that was now plunging down your throat, was all that you needed this moment. Your heart rate increased as sweat began to build up on your forehead. He pushed the rope away a little, exposing your shoulder. You knew what would happen next. With a very lewd pop, he pulled out of your mouth, giving you only the fraction of a second before plunging his teeth into your flesh. He didn't bite hard enough to destroy your shoulder, but he was attached and slowly began to chew.
You could feel his teeth move beneath your skin, work and shred your flesh. It hurt, especially when you noticed that you were drawing blood. But for now you allowed it. After all, if you pushed him away now, with his teeth so deep inside of you, that would tear your flesh apart. Alas, you let him enjoy this moment for all it's worth, letting out the sweaty beast inside of him. And inside of you. Bob soon thereafter fell asleep on the couch next to you. As you quietly got up, you snuck into your bathroom, where you opened the mirror cabinet, taking out the disinfectant and wound cream. Biting your lower lip as to not make a sound, you went over your fleshly wounds. You went over your fresh wounds, putting bandages over the still bleeding ones, before once again putting your bathrobe back on. The first time he bit you like this, you almost cried. But that's what the voices in your mind wanted. But that's what the voices in his mind wanted. You needed to stay just the right amount of entertaining for the demons in his brain to be both entertained yet bored enough to not give him the command to kill you. But honestly, as you left the bathroom, sitting down next to his sleeping form, you gently caressed his back. That was worth it.